13 Interesting psychological facts about crushes. Experiencing a crush can be likened to a state of euphoria, where you feel like you're floating on air while teetering on the brink of exhilaration. This combination of elation and trepidation is something nearly everyone can relate to. Whether it's the charming barista at your favorite coffee shop or a longtime high school best friend, harboring a crush can be a bewildering and profoundly intense encounter. Yet, have you ever paused to ponder the reasons behind our propensity to develop crushes? What is it about certain individuals that exerts such a powerful attraction over us? As it happens, there's far more to having a crush on someone than simply finding them attractive. In today's exploration, we'll delve into the intriguing psychological aspects of crushing on someone. We'll uncover the scientific explanations that underlie the phenomenon of crushes and gain insights into the neurological processes that transpire when we encounter our objects of affection. 1. Increased heart rate. When we encounter someone who captivates our interest, our brain initiates the release of a cascade of chemicals, among them, dopamine and norepinephrine. These substances are accountable for the sensations of excitement and eager anticipation typically linked with harboring a crush. Nonetheless, they also induce a tangible impact on our physical well-being, one of which is an increased heart rate. This heightened heart rate constitutes a physiological response to the discharge of these chemicals. When we undergo intense emotions, whether it's excitement or fear, our body's fight or flight mechanism is activated, causing a surge in adrenaline levels. This surge can result in an acceleration of our heart rate, which is why you might observe your heart racing when you encounter someone who arouses your interest. Remarkably, it's not just the mere sight of your crush that can elicit an elevated heart rate. Even the mere contemplation of them or the expectation of encountering them can produce the same physiological reaction. Our brain continually processes information and makes predictions, and when we eagerly anticipate an encounter with someone who appeals to us, our body might react as if we're already in their presence. 2. The dopamine rush. When your gaze falls upon your crush, it may give rise to the sensation that your heart is on the verge of bursting out of your chest. This sensation is intricately linked to the release of dopamine by your brain, a neurotransmitter responsible for generating feelings of pleasure and reward. This connection between love and pleasure begins to form in your brain, wherein your affection for that person becomes associated with pleasurable sensations and rewards. This psychological phenomenon is commonly referred to as positive reinforcement, whereby your brain is driven to seek out more interactions with your crush to relive those delightful experiences. In essence, it's as if your brain is cheerfully exclaiming, "That was truly enjoyable. Let's do it again." Remarkably, scientific studies have revealed that the rush of dopamine we encounter when we fancy someone can be equally as potent as the rush produced by the use of substances like cocaine or nicotine. Consequently, being in love can be somewhat akin to developing an addiction. It's no surprise, then, that we may find it challenging to cease contemplating our crush or feel a surge of anxiety and exhilaration when they're around. 3. Obsessive thoughts. Frequent fixation on a particular subject is a typical psychological aspect that often accompanies having a crush. You might notice yourself engaging in incessant checks of their social media profiles, mentally replaying past conversations with them, or even indulging in daydreams about what a relationship with them would entail. While it's natural to have thoughts about someone you hold feelings for, obsessive thoughts tend to be a more heightened experience. So, why do we encounter obsessive thoughts when we're attracted to someone? One plausible explanation for experiencing these relentless thoughts is the way our brains are wired to concentrate on matters we consider significant. When we find an individual appealing, our brains interpret that person as significant, consequently channeling a considerable amount of mental focus toward them. This heightened attention often results in thoughts that seem beyond our control, with our minds repeatedly returning to that individual. 4. Butterflies in the stomach. Ah, that familiar sensation of butterflies in the stomach, a classic indication of having a crush that we all recognize all too well. But have you ever wondered about the physiological processes that underlie this feeling, and why it seems to be concentrated in our stomachs? The explanation lies in the intricate wiring of our bodies. Our stomachs are linked to our brains via the vagus nerve, which serves a role in regulating our digestive system. When we encounter intense emotions, such as the exhilaration of encountering our crush, the vagus nerve can become stimulated, leading to contractions and churning within the stomach. So, even though the butterflies in the stomach sensation might be somewhat uncomfortable or even distracting, it actually serves as a physical manifestation of your body's response to the excitement of attraction. 5. Idealization. When we feel drawn to someone, it's typical to elevate that person, focusing solely on their finest attributes while disregarding their actions. It's akin to donning rose-tinted glasses, perceiving the world through a rosy filter. Idealization holds substantial sway, particularly in the initial stages of developing feelings for someone. We might believe that our crush is the most extraordinary individual globally, without any possible comparisons. In this phase, we might indulge in daydreams about a lifelong journey together, envisioning a future where everything is idyllic and devoid of any missteps. However, idealization carries a double-edged quality. Why, you ask? When we idealize someone, we fail to recognize them as the complex, multifaceted beings they are, complete with their quirks, complexities, and blemishes. Instead, we behold a version of them that we've meticulously crafted within our own minds. As a result, idealization can set us up for disillusionment. As we become better acquainted with our crushes, we may begin to perceive them in a more realistic light. Perhaps they exhibit exasperating habits, or their interest in us isn't as intense as we initially believed. Suddenly, the immaculate image we had constructed in our minds comes crashing down, leaving us feeling disenchanted and disheartened. 6. The anxiety. If you've ever experienced an attraction to someone, you're likely familiar with the sensation of nervousness that often accompanies it. This sensation can manifest as a knot in the pit of your stomach when you're in the presence of your crush, the concern that you might utter something awkward, or the apprehension of facing rejection. For many people who have crushes, social anxiety is a common companion. It entails a profound self-consciousness that can make it challenging to be your authentic self around the person you're drawn to. You might find yourself excessively mulling over your every action, preoccupied with your appearance and choice of words, or attempting to predict their thoughts and reactions. Social anxiety can intensify, particularly when you feel your crush is in a different league from you. You may harbor concerns that you lack the allure or appeal to capture their attention, or that they will spurn your advances. These anxieties can perpetuate a cycle of self-doubt and avoidance, further complicating the process of building a connection with your crush. Yet, it's crucial to realize that social anxiety is a normal response. It's a natural reaction to the vulnerability and uncertainty inherent in opening up to another person. While it may be uncomfortable and occasionally distressing, it signifies that you are taking a chance and making yourself emotionally available. 7. Physical attraction. Physical attraction typically serves as the initial magnet that pulls us towards someone we're crushing on. It's that indescribable sensation that takes hold when you lay eyes on someone, and suddenly your heart flutters, your palms grow moist, and you seem to be floating on air. Fascinatingly, physical attraction can also be shaped by factors that extend beyond mere appearances. Consider, for instance, an individual's scent, which can wield influence over the degree of physical attraction we feel. Research has unveiled that people exhibit greater attraction to the scent of someone with a dissimilar immune system, which might potentially enhance the prospects of producing hardier offspring. 8. Emotional vulnerability. Having a crush can instill a sense of euphoria, making you feel as though you're soaring on cloud 9. You might experience exhilaration, joy, and a palpable sense of anticipation when the thought of being near them crosses your mind. However, beneath the surface of this delightful sensation lies another aspect of having a crush that isn't as enjoyable: emotional vulnerability. Acting upon your affections for someone translates to exposing yourself emotionally, a step that opens the door to potential rejection, disillusionment, and heartache. It's undeniably daunting to communicate your feelings to someone, particularly if you're uncertain about their reciprocal sentiments. This vulnerability can prove discomforting and, at times, even painful, yet it forms an integral part of the overall experience. When you open yourself up to emotional vulnerability, you're also susceptible to experiencing intense emotions. The joy you feel when your crush shows interest in you can be immensely satisfying, yet it might be countered by periods of sadness or frustration when your feelings aren't reciprocated. Emotions during this phase can exhibit unpredictability and intensity, rendering the experience both thrilling and, at times, overwhelming. 9. Mood swings. Experiencing a crush on someone can be an exceptionally intense journey. It's akin to your brain working in overdrive, endeavoring to grapple with the multitude of emotions coursing through you. In such moments of heightened mental activity, it's perfectly natural for your emotions to occasionally become somewhat tumultuous. Furthermore, mood swings are often elicited by the difficulty of ascertaining the other person's feelings toward you. You might be firmly convinced that your crush reciprocates your affection, and then, their actions sow seeds of doubt in your mind. There are days when they appear entirely uninterested, only to be followed by days of effusive flirting. The ever-present uncertainty in this dynamic can leave you feeling perplexed, exasperated, and emotionally charged. Adding to the complexity is the sheer excitement of having a crush. Each encounter or conversation with your crush feels like an adrenaline rush. This exhilaration generates a wide spectrum of emotions, encompassing elation, nervousness, disappointment, and all the nuances in between. 10. Increased energy. You might discover that excitement has you practically bouncing off the walls, rendering it nearly impossible to remain still or focus on anything other than your crush. This isn't mere imagination, there's a scientific rationale behind it. Hormones such as dopamine and norepinephrine are accountable for generating feelings of pleasure and exhilaration. An upsurge in these hormones can furnish us with a natural euphoria, infusing us with added vitality, making us feel as though we can conquer the world, or at least seize the day ahead. Nonetheless, this augmented energy is a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it can enhance our productivity, motivation, and capacity to concentrate on our objectives. Conversely, it can prove to be distracting, making it challenging to focus on anything other than our crush. You might catch yourself daydreaming about them during classes or work, or staying awake late into the night, thoughts consumed by them instead of obtaining the necessary rest. 11. Involuntary smiling. At times, we discover ourselves beaming with unfettered joy for no apparent reason when our thoughts turn to our crush. This spontaneous smiling represents a typical psychological reaction to nurturing affection for someone. Upon encountering or even merely pondering our crush, our brains release a surge of neurotransmitters that are responsible for engendering feelings of pleasure and reward. This influx of dopamine engenders a sensation of well-being, which can, in turn, instigate an automatic smiling response. Involuntary smiling is an interesting facet in that it's generally beyond our conscious control, it unfolds almost like an instinctive reflex. So, if you find yourself grinning broadly when thoughts of your crush surface, there's no need for concern, it's entirely customary. It's essentially your brain's manner of conveying that you're savoring a pleasurable experience. 12. Self-doubt. When you're genuinely attracted to someone, it's not uncommon to feel as though you're perpetually navigating a delicate tightrope. There's a nagging fear that you might inadvertently utter or do something amiss, and the constant worry about striking the right balance between enthusiasm and restraint. These sentiments of trepidation and ambiguity can culminate in a psychological occurrence known as self-doubt. Self-doubt is an ordinary facet of the emotional landscape associated with having a crush because it's intrinsic to question whether you measure up to your crush's standards. You might begin to assess yourself in relation to others, contemplating whether you possess comparable levels of intelligence, humor, or attractiveness. This form of self-criticism can be particularly pernicious since it has the potential to erode your self-confidence, rendering it increasingly challenging for you to exhibit your authentic self when you're in the presence of your crush. In certain instances, self-doubt can even act as an impediment to pursuing a relationship with your crush. It's possible to convince yourself that you aren't deserving of their attention or that they'd never be interested in someone like you. These pessimistic beliefs possess the capability to hinder your progress, deterring you from taking risks and embracing the opportunity to express your feelings openly. 13. Emotional intensity. When you're in the presence of someone you find attractive, your emotions have a tendency to be cranked up to an almost overwhelming level. It's as though your heart is operating in overdrive, beating at a pace quicker than usual, while your thoughts and emotions appear to be in a state of disarray. But why does this occur? In addition to the previously discussed chemical reactions, when we're in close proximity to our crushes, our bodies can exhibit physical responses that accentuate our emotional fervor. For instance, you might discern an uptick in your heart rate when you're near your crush, or you may experience sensations like sweating or blushing. These bodily reactions can contribute to the overall sensation of heightened intensity and excitement that accompanies having a crush. If you enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on the notification bell, so you don't miss any new videos. Let us know your thoughts about this video in the comments section down below and feel free to stay and enjoy it until the end. Also make sure to check out our next highlighted video and we will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.